You very much, Timothy, and it's a great pleasure to be the one presenting today in this very interesting meeting. Um, I hope you can see my slides. Great.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so the discussion today is an interesting one, looking at university education in health. Is it a dead horse, or is it a tool for socioeconomic development? And I want to start by saying that I'm a product of the University of Nairobi. That was where I got my first degree, and Kenyatta University, and also the Society for Sexual Medicine, International Society, the European Committee on Sexual Medicine through their fellowship program. So I appreciate all these people who have been my trainers. And so I'm not discrediting the good work they have done today as I talk about education in health. And also being part of Amref International University, I know I'm a trainer myself. And some of the things I say, I hope my students don't say that, oh, you are lying, you don't do that yourself. Let me start by what is going on in the health sector, the frustrations and the difficulties health workers are going through. This slide shows one doctor. It was in the media, so it is in the public domain. This doctor killed himself. He was staying with his sister in one of the towns in Kenya, in Mombasa, and he wrote this note before killing himself. I'm sorry, sister. I have a lot of pressure, debts and loans from my friends. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't have money in my account, so don't bother checking. I'm deeply sorry, sister. He signed off before taking his own life. His name was Mwoki, and he said he had he's said to have struggled for months to get a job after graduating from medical school, but all attempts hit a snag. So he was jobless, he was in debt, and he didn't have anybody to turn to, and he killed himself. And we have had many health worker strikes, not just for doctors, also for nurses and for other cadres of health workers. And in Africa, South Africa, Kenya and Nigeria seem to be leading the league when it comes to these strikes, but they're happening in other parts of the continent as well. And so unemployment is a big problem. Underemployment is also a big problem, what I would call brain waste, where a lot of people are trained, but they're not really fully employed, or they're not even doing what they were trained to do. According to WHO Africa Regional Office, by 2030, Africa will have a shortage of 6.1 million health workers. But alongside that, there will be 700,000 unemployed or underemployed health workers. If you look at the statistics in this table, countries are affected differently. If you look at Kenya, where I sit, for example, clinical officers, a big number, currently not employed, medical doctors, nurses, and there are many other unspecified cadres of health workers not employed. And this picture is what we see in many African countries. So unemployment, underemployment, and dissatisfaction among those who are already employed. This is just what it is in a health system that is struggling across the continent. But how did we get here? I think there are many reasons why we got to where we are, in a state where health workers seem to be in a very desperate situation. The first reason why we got here is that the training that we have gone through as health workers uses what is called social learning. In social learning, people reproduce themselves. Basically, you make people who you are training do exactly what you do and look exactly like you. And you can read more about social learning. There is a reference here, but it's a known learning theory where once you learn, you then identify as part of that community of people you look like. You do exactly the same thing they do, and you experience life the same way they experience. Now, this is happening in a very rapidly changing context where, you know, the world is changing, health sectors are changing, there is technology and other things that are changing rapidly, but we are learning the same way and reproducing people who look exactly like us. So if you are trained by someone the age of your grandparent, then you want to behave like them. And so the rapidly changing context is unable to sustain people who think and act like their grandparents. I want to give you an example of what goes on in our trainings across Africa. I had colleagues when I was in the undergraduate who wanted to behave differently. I had a classmate who was a newscaster, and they were told, you stop doing that immediately, or we discontinue your studies, because doctors are not supposed to be newscasters. I remember many others who are trying to do different things, socializing differently, and they were warned and they had to behave the same way as our teachers. That is social learning, and that is something that happens. Now, thinking differently in the traditional way of training health workers can land you in a lot of trouble. I give the example of this gentleman, Ignas Semmelweis, a young doctor who, after graduating, went to work in a maternity ward. And during that time, you can see the years when he lived. During that time, antibiotics were still not there. And there were a lot of deaths resulting from what was called maternal fever, where a lot of women were getting fever after delivery and dying. Now, he realized that when he washed his hands before handling patients, maternal fever went down. And so he said that we can actually reduce maternal fever if health workers washed their hands before touching patients. Now, his seniors, because he was a young doctor, laughed at him and said, this is, you know, just crazy. How can you tell us what to do? How do you tell us to wash our hands? And he was told to behave and do what everyone else was doing. And because he didn't do that, they isolated him, they stigmatized him. And when a whole profession stigmatizes you as a young doctor, he almost went crazy. He was then taken to a place for people with mental health problems where they tortured him and killed him. This is just to demonstrate that trying to behave differently in the health profession can be very dangerous. And training is top down, and it is traditionally what is called social learning. You do what your seniors do, you behave the same way your seniors behave. So that is how we got to where we are, the first point. The second one is that what the people in the human resources have learned, that when they talk to graduates, people who have come out of our training institutions, they find something very consistent, that people do not have or do not show enthusiasm, that these people needed better communication, analytical, and problem-solving skills to fit in the job market, that these people are unable to articulate their abilities, that graduates are most lacking in creative thinking and interpersonal skills. This is from the HR analysis side of things. And this is one reason that graduates then find it very difficult to fit in the job market. The third one is that in a number of surveys done, graduates are found to overrate themselves. If you ask graduates and compare their perception of themselves and what employers say, you see a very wide difference. For example, in oral communications, most graduates believe that they are very good, 62%, versus what the employers think, 28%. Working with numbers, that is the issue of statistics, you see 55% versus 28%. Being a member of a team, working in teams, graduates think they are very good, 64% of them. Only 37% of employers think the same. Applying knowledge and skills to the real world, 59% versus 23. And analyzing and solving complex problems, again, 59 versus 24. And so the way graduates look at themselves is quite overrated compared to the way employers do. So the question is, what is the role of institutions of higher learning? Where you have this kind of picture. Are higher learning institutions, the universities, supposed to be producing laborers fit for the market, for employment, or are they supposed to be nurturing talents of adaptive and agile thinkers able to innovate for a changing world? This is the difficult question. What is actually the role of universities and higher education institutions when you come to training, and in this case of health workers? I want to give two examples of students I've come across recently and use that to explain some of the lessons or learnings or what I think should be the roles of universities. A student by the name Elizabeth, she's actually yet to finish her college, but she's in employment right now. I met her and she told me that she had realized that a lot of women going through pregnancies struggle on their own. From the time of conception to the time of delivery, it is a very lonely journey. And she had come up with a method or a way of giving them company where they talk about day-to-day experiences. And she was walking them around every day, just having a walk for a kilometer or two with a pregnant woman and talking about the day's experience. And these women appreciated that so much, they started paying her. And then she made it a business. She started actually getting many women and living with them through the pregnancy and getting paid. That was number one. The second one is another one called Celine, whom again I met recently. Both of these students are in Amref International University. Now, she came to me and said she had realized there are a lot of disabling diseases and a lot of sick people, either with stroke or cancer or other chronic diseases, are at home and very lonely, and they have to be transported to health facilities for care almost every day. And sometimes families don't have money to do that. And she's actually in the process of starting home care. She's still not qualified. She's doing nursing. So she's calling herself home care assistant. She has decided to go and do a course in palliative care. And she was looking for money to do that. And she's looking for hospitals to attach herself to so that they can attach her to those patients who are suffering at home. And she has a business plan and she's already seeing herself paying herself for what she's doing and even getting jobs for others. These two students have what I call extraordinary skills. there are three things in these extraordinary skills: the ability to identify a problem affecting many people. That ability seems to be lacking in most graduates. And the second one, the motivation to do something to create change, to solve that problem which is affecting many people. And the third one, the skill in developing a framework for sustainable and sustainability and scale up, making it a business and making it big. These three skills is what I call extraordinary skills. And this is what these students seem to be having. And there are some lessons we can learn in creating extraordinary skills, EOS, which I hope universities could take up and impart in the people who go through these institutions. One is diversifying learning beyond the formal curriculum. For you to develop EOS, extraordinary skills, universities need to make students diversify learning beyond the formal curriculum. Now, what people learn in class just makes 10% of learning. If you are going to be a nurse, what you learn in class just makes 10%. Another 20% may be through social interaction, social media. But up to 70% is experiential. It's what you experience in the real world. And success lies in creating opportunities for students to accumulate these, what I call micro credentials outside of the formal learning. So if you take the example of Celine, she's going to get another credential from the hospice by learning about hospice care and things like that. She's going to also get other skills. She's learned about financial management and all that. So getting that. The second lesson in creating EOS is for us to transform curricula in our universities towards what is called the knowledge economy. In knowledge economy, the valuable assets are intangible. They include patents, copyrights, and proprietary software or processes. It is in contrast to what is known as agrarian economy. In Kenya and in many parts of Africa, we really value land as an asset, and we want to have a lot of land and all that. That is agrarian economy. It's also different from industrial economy, where we want to build big industries and all that. In knowledge economy, the drive is innovation, research, and technological advancement. And workers in knowledge economy are extremely computer literate and skilled in disruptive models. Emphasis in knowledge economy is on data collection and analysis, development of algorithms, AI, and things like that. And STEM is at the core of knowledge economy. Examples of knowledge economy products include things like M-Pesa, which most people know across the world, driverless cars, COVID vaccine being developed in record time, robotic surgery, GM foods, and so on. Transforming our curricula to start looking at issues around knowledge economy is one way of getting what I call EOS. Successful students in knowledge economy, where you have this kind of approach to education, they have brains that ask questions. And that look for answers, and they know where to get those answers. They are very good in social interaction, and they deepen their understanding and feel very comfortable in challenging each other's ideas. So it's about thinking, it's about innovation, it's about research, it's about disruption. The third thing in EOS, extraordinary skills, is to infuse a culture of wealth creation in graduates. You remember the two students I've talked about, there is commercialization of what comes out of their innovation. And so how do we instill this? We can learn from the traits of the rich. The rich people have been found to be self-aware. They form deep connections with people. For you to be able to identify problems and want to solve those problems, you really need to be people-centered. You need to interact with people and understand people. Rich people recognize opportunities through multidisciplinary interaction. They take measured risks. So once you've identified a problem, you want to do something about it, but there is always a risk you're taking. There is also a lot of discipline, good time management, the right mindset. All these things are important in creating the people we are looking for in EOS. The other thing is moving away or integrating intelligence and knowledge in the same measure in training. Extraordinary skills come when people are intelligent. I think that's what I want to say. In a number of studies done, the correlation between education level and job performance is very weak. Being knowledgeable is not equal to being a good job performer, but intelligence scores a better indicator of job potential. So college degree is quite outperformed by higher intelligence in most jobs. Intelligence includes things like constant thinking, analyzing, reasoning, learning, and implementing new ideas. And academic grades are not really in tandem with this kind of thing. Understanding intelligence is important. It is the mental capacity to learn from experiences, to adapt to new situations, to understand and handle abstract concepts, to use knowledge to manipulate one's environment. It includes problem solving skills, critical thinking, learning quickly, and understanding complex ideas. It is possible to stimulate growth of intelligence incidentally from some very obvious things. Playing jogging games, reading stuff outside your career, playing musical instruments, learning a new language, spending time in nature walk, spending time socializing, meditation. It is exactly the opposite of what happens in social learning. As I've told you, my classmates who went out of the profession to do something different were warned and stopped from doing it. Those who wanted to go and be newscasters during their free time were warned. There was nothing that you're supposed to do different from what your teacher does. And that is totally different from if you wanted your students to gain intelligence. It is gained from these things that we don't discuss. So there are many types of intelligence which people can gain. And I don't want to go into details of this, but these are the things that universities need to inculcate to make people grow intelligence and not just knowledge that we give. So one problem, school and college programs are packed with knowledge activities. They do not have structured activities to boost intelligence. And this makes graduates very high in knowledge, but with very little intelligence. And I think this is the starting point of our problems. Knowledge is now easily accessible. I can go into the internet and get any knowledge, and the market is looking not just for knowledgeable people, but people who are intelligent. Our training institutions, if you look at the way the budgets are done, the time is spent, there is no money and no strategy for boosting intelligence. We are all into knowledge. No wonder we are called towers of knowledge. If you look at a typical university budget template, it is staff costs, it is research activities, it is physical infrastructure, it is library. There is nothing on human or what I call talent development or what I call EOS, extraordinary skills development. This, if we were to have a balanced university, there are 4 things that I would be looking for, as shown there. It is training, research, community activities, and intelligence or human development. Examples of human development activities include character mentoring, include entrepreneurship support, include programs on emotional intelligence, include negotiation skills, include support on how to work in teams, include financial literacy, and include life planning. And some of these things may not be in the curriculum, and that is why micro-credential becomes very important, and universities creating space for that becomes very important. So what we have right now is what I call knowledge-based college degrees. Are they still relevant? According to The Economist, a college degree boosts earning by 20% in sub-Saharan Africa. So if you have a degree, you're likely to earn 20% more than someone who did not get a degree. It boosts earning by 9% in Scandinavian countries where many people already have degrees. And generally, employers still ask for a college degree, even though they say graduates are not fit for the job. So what is the solution? Universities need to create avenues for developing intelligence as students go through school or college to acquire knowledge, so that you know, with a 20% boost in earnings, graduates will never be rich. In fact, I'm yet to see a professor who is ranked as among the richest. Sometimes I feel that college degrees actually disempower us. They take away the intelligence, they take away all those things that we talked about, and leave us with a very narrow focus and inability to survive in the real world. And so, is university education in health a dead horse? I would say only to the extent that it disempowers creativity and innovation through traditional curricula delivered in a top-down fashion. And also, universities must be alive to the changing contexts and aim to build agile and adaptive graduates, which is currently not happening. And the secret lies in imparting extraordinary skills and intelligence rather than knowledge only. Knowledge is still important, but it should not be the only thing. Extraordinary skills coupled with knowledge economy approach can transform Africa's socioeconomic development, and that is what we need to stop the current frustration that we are seeing in the health sector for graduates working in that sector. Thank you very much.